Okay, so let's talk about a single day that was just pure chaos. I'm talking about January 21st, 2026. It was a day when one speech, delivered in Davos, Switzerland, sent massive shockwaves through politics, through tech, and yeah, especially through the financial markets. And it all kicked off with this feeling of, well, dread. Long before the news actually broke, in a room filled with the most powerful people on the planet, the tension was just electric. One person there, surrounded by all these CEOs and world leaders, put it perfectly. Just 3 words. This is scary. So what in the world had them so spooked?
All right, so where does this all go down? We're at the World Economic Forum in Davos. And you've got thousands of the planet's most influential people all crammed together, waiting, some for hours, just to hear one person speak, U.S. President Donald Trump.
And just look at who was in this room. We're talking a who's who of global power. You've got Apple's Tim Cook, Christine Lagarde from the European Central Bank, Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan. Even the CEO of Blackstone, Steve Schwarzman, was standing in line with everybody else. The entire global economy was pretty much holding its breath.
And then? It happened. After about an hour of talking up his own achievements, President Trump shifted gears, and with everyone hanging on his every word, he didn't just float an idea. Oh no, he made a demand. The entire mood of the room just flipped, from tense to total shock in an instant.
So, you gotta understand, this wasn't some kind of quirky, off-the-cuff remark about real estate. This was serious. It was a direct challenge to America's closest allies, and it came with some very, very sharp teeth. And he backed it up with a huge threat. He said any European country that stood in his way on Greenland would get hit with crushing tariffs, starting at 10% and shooting up to 25%. Boom! Just like that, a massive trade war with Europe wasn't just a possibility, it felt like it was already happening. And the markets, they started to spiral.
And the reaction was immediate. You know what happens when there's that much uncertainty, right? The markets absolutely hate it. The Dow, the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, all the big indexes, they just tanked. It was their worst day in months. The threat was being taken very, very seriously.
But here's the really wild part. While all this political drama was unfolding in Davos, the rest of the world, well, it kept spinning. The tech giants in particular were busy making some enormous moves of their own.
So on this exact same day, you've got Jeff Bezos' company Blue Origin announcing it's jumping headfirst into the satellite internet business. They're planning to launch over 5,000 satellites for a new service called TerraWave. The space race was getting another huge competitor, right in the middle of all this chaos.
Meanwhile, over at Meta, they're launching a major offense in the social media wars. They announced that their platform Threads, which had over 400 million users, was finally going to start showing ads. That is a direct shot at Elon Musk's X, fighting for those big advertising dollars.
And hey, remember the streaming wars? Netflix, yeah, the same company that for years swore they would never ever do ads. Well, on this day, they revealed that their new ad-supported plan had pulled in $1.5 billion in 2025. That big strategy U-turn was clearly paying off. And we can't forget the chip wars. The AI boom was in full swing, and Intel was just on an absolute tear. Its stock shot up another 11% that day, bringing its total gain for the year to an incredible 149%. It's like while the old world was freaking out, the new tech world was busy building empires.
Okay, so let's get back to the main event in Davos, because right when everyone was bracing for a full-blown trade war, the story takes a massive, unexpected twist. So the scene is set for a total crisis, right? Europe is digging in its heels. The US is doubling down on threats. Markets are plummeting. It's a mess. And then, a single social media post changes the entire game.
And this was it. It was a post on Truth Social from President Trump himself. Suddenly, all the tough talk? Gone. Replaced by this language of a framework of a future deal with NATO. The whiplash was just incredible. The crisis was suddenly over, almost as fast as it started. So what was in this surprise concept of a deal? Well, first, and this is the big one, those tariffs, off the table, gone. That was huge. But it also brought NATO allies into the discussion, talking about things like mineral rights in Greenland and even this new Golden Dome missile defense system. It was this whole complex solution that just appeared out of thin air.
So, the biggest threat of the day is suddenly gone. What do you think happened to the markets that were in a total nosedive just a few hours before?
They exploded, absolutely exploded with relief. The reversal was instant and it was massive. The Dow shot up over 700 points. The S&P and the Nasdaq both jumped 1.5%. It was like flipping a switch. All that red on the trading screens just turned into a massive wave of green.
I mean, if you want to understand what a roller coaster of a day this was, this is it. In the morning, you have a tariff threat that sends markets to their worst day in months. By the afternoon, you have a concept of a deal posted on social media that sends the Dow soaring. That's not just volatility. That is pure economic whiplash.
So where does all this leave us? The crisis was averted, markets bounced back, everyone's happy, right? But this one day brings up a huge question. What does it actually mean for global stability when the entire economy can be sent into a tailspin and then saved, all because of a single unpredictable announcement? It's a fascinating and maybe a little unsettling new reality to think about.